Hi, my name is Rachel Moranis, and I'm the Chief Marketing Officer for Olapic. Olapic is a visual content marketing platform that helps brands collect user-generated content, curate it, permission it, and deploy it across all marketing channels. In honor of Women's History Month, I will be interviewing a number of different women in leadership roles in business, marketing, technology, and e-commerce. Ashley, thank you so much for joining us for Real Talk with Rachel. If you could do me a favor and just give us a little background on yourself, that would be great.
Yeah, thanks, Rachel. I'm so excited to be here. My name is Ashley Walkley. I am currently the Director of Brand and Strategic Initiatives for Dog-Eared. It's a global jewelry brand based out of Los Angeles, California. It's been around for 25 years. It's owned by a husband and wife team. Oh, wow. And I've been with the brand for almost 4 years at this point. And it's been a really exciting kind of opportunity to see the brand grow over the last few years. Prior to that, I've always wanted to be involved in branding and marketing, and really started my career on the ad agency side. And really got a sense for, this was in an age where media was new in terms of non-traditional media, so online marketing was just starting to take off, and really enjoyed that experience and getting that cross-functional exposure, everything from PR to the marketing, the branding, and also kind of this new online community. Social hadn't taken off yet, but got to see kind of the early stages of that take place. I then went on to work for a retail developer doing brick and mortar retail development and rebranding some great projects with a developer in Los Angeles. And then ultimately decided that I really wanted to stay in the technology space and really kind of part of that growing world with brands. So moved over to Dog-Eared.
Did you study marketing or communications in college?
You know, it's interesting. I was actually laughing about this the other day. So I started as a business major and couldn't decide between an advertising or marketing degree. And I remember this one conversation that I had with a girl in college when trying to decide my major. And she said, advertising and marketing are so different. You have to decide. And now looking back, it's, it's all kind of
converged.
Blended. It's all converged. It's all blended together. And ironically, I actually left business school and actually chose to major in media arts and design and focused on corporate communications, which a lot of people think is more of a public relations degree, but it was really a multidisciplinary degree. So we learned every stage of the marketing process, from creative development and conception to actual execution, and doing mock, scenarios from PR releases to interviewing. We had to go on the news desk. We had to do photojournalism. So we learned every aspect of the creative process. And I think that's really what set me apart in terms of ability to grow in my career.
That's great. I was a European history major, so I don't know how I ended up in marketing.
Does it matter anymore these days?
I actually started out in public relations as well, and then sort of morphed into marketing, and then really focused on marketing more than anything else because I liked the sort of scientific, analytical nature of it. Yeah. But I'm sure you use PR every day in what you're doing today, as well as advertising, marketing. It's all converging.
It is, absolutely.
So Ashley, tell me why you think women are well suited for careers in marketing.
It's a funny question. And I think it's a great question. And I think that women, sorry guys, are actually really great in marketing for a number of reasons. I actually listened to a TED Talk recently, and they talked about this idea of multi-potentialities. And it basically talks about people who don't focus on a singular path in their career, who are able to learn multiple things over time and become really great at different aspects. And I think that translates to a certain extent into marketing, because marketing isn't a one-size-fits-all. There's so many disciplines within the marketing field, and I think women inherently are amazing multitaskers. Sorry, guys, but I think they are, in the sense that we can juggle a bazillion details, but have a singular vision of truth and focus when it comes to implementation. And that ability to kind of embrace all facets of a brand, of a campaign, every touch point, really translates into this dynamic kind of cumulative experience for women. And I think they get really passionate about all aspects of it. I know I do personally and professionally. And for me, that's kind of where I sit with it.
What have you found to be the challenges of being a woman in marketing? Is there anything in specific there?
I think we're our own biggest challenge. I think women inherently are hard on ourselves. I know for me, I'm a perfectionist. I'm type A. I want everything to be perfect. I'm personally an overachiever, so I don't do something 100%. I do things 150%, and no detail is left untouched. And I think sometimes it's important as women in marketing to realize that some details can fall between the cracks, and I think we have to be okay with that and actually recognize that it's the greater good of a campaign or the implementation or the return for a specific initiative that's ultimately important, and how it drives the bottom line versus just focusing on what I call the weeds.
Yeah, definitely. Did you have any role models, either female or male, as you were developing in your career?
I had two. The first one started when I was in college, and she was actually one of my professors who is still to this day a mentor of mine. Her name is Dr. Joanne Holman, and I went to James Madison University, and I met her my sophomore year in college, and I was in her office every day, and she was just one of those go-getter, empowering, challenged everything you said, didn't believe in I can't, and really just made me think that I could do it. And sometimes you need that extra push, going out into a world that's kind of unknown, especially as digital was evolving, and really gave me the confidence to walk into a career. She enabled myself and 3 other girls to start a kind of startup company, public relations company in college.
Oh, wow.
And helped us find our first client.
That's amazing.
It was a small nonprofit.
Yeah, but still.
But that experience gave me the ability to see what it was, the applications in the real world in a way that felt tangible, and able to translate that into what is this like in the real world and how do I find that first career.
Yeah, that's amazing. That's an amazing opportunity.
And then professionally, it was actually my second job out of college. I worked for an ad agency, and
that shall remain nameless.
Kramer Castle. Kramer Castle out of Phoenix, Arizona. And at the time, our general manager was Brian Landauer. And he was just one of these dynamic, really fun kind of risk takers that was also super smart. And he tried to build talent around him on his teams. And at the time, I was given an opportunity to kind of step up a level when there was kind of a hole in one of the teams. And that sink or swim ability to push someone a little bit further than maybe they're comfortable, he always knew how to push you just one step further and trusted you to make mistakes, but that you would learn from them. And that stuck with me. And I think that really, really changed a lot of my career.
Has anyone ever told you that you look like a young Heather Locklear?
No, but thank you. I've heard other ones, but I haven't heard that one.
Heather Locklear.
Thanks.
If you could have a superpower, what would it be?
I struggle with this one between teleporting, just because of travel, and because there's so many amazing places in the world to see, which I feel like I haven't even knocked a dent in. And if I could just not have to do the air travel and the airport process, I think that would be one. And then I also think about invisibility. How many times do we catch ourselves saying, like, I wish I could be a fly on the wall for that conversation, even if it was like and I think of it in a marketer's mindset type way, like, I want to know what consumers are thinking when they're buying something. I want to see, like, I want to see this process, and nobody can actually be in that element with them. And I think it would be really interesting professionally to have that superpower.
Yeah. Definitely. How do you incorporate yourself as a consumer into how you think about consumer marketing? How much of yourself do you bring to that?
I think it's important to remove yourself. And that's something that I've learned over the year. It's not about personal preference. It's about the brand. And I think that good marketers truly understand what their brand and how it translates to consumers. One of the things that I always think about is authentic marketing, or kind of this real marketing, is a push-pull model. And it's really converging into this, and it's moving towards this. No longer are the days of just the ad agency comes up with a piece of creative and you push it to market and sales triple. Like, it's a new world for marketers. There's more specialty roles, more defined. There's so much data. And it's about listening and observing and taking in that social dialogue, taking in that feedback from consumers, watching their behaviors, monitoring their patterns, and then translating that into brand experiences that relate to them, and not just in one niche demographic, looking at how you're crossing different segments. Who are your customers? And I think social has given us really great insights into understanding more about our customers, both visually, but also like what they're into. Like real girls, or for me it's real girls because we only sell to women, but real girls have a real way of telling us what they want, and being able to engage with them at different levels has really been tremendous for us.
That's great. How have you embraced your consumer in marketing?
I had to fight for social care online. So, long gone are the days of here's our email address, like send us an email or call our 1-800 number. Obviously those channels still exist and there are many people, but I think a lot of people are open and really utilizing social media channels to voice their opinions and their concerns or their frustrations with a brand. And I think it's such an amazing opportunity to engage in a dialogue transparently online in front of other people. I mean, can you imagine, 15 years ago, brands being like, oh yeah, we'll talk about our customer service in front of 1 million people. We've adopted that, and I think it's been really great for us because people see that we're willing to engage. We always try to do right by our customers. It doesn't mean that we're perfect, but we're always looking for ways to do things better. And I think that's been a big leap for us. And I think, we always take feedback. If a customer emails us an idea or submits something, we actually take that feedback and we pass it to our design team. We talk about it in an executive meeting. Like, those are real things that happen that I don't necessarily know have always happened in the past.
All right, I'm going to ask you to fill in the blank on the following questions.
Okay.
Ready? This is our rapid fire round. I can't get through the workday without
My coffee and my notebook. And I'm old school. I still use a notebook with little triangles. and
That's
check marks.
amazing.
Yeah.
I wish I did. I'm stuck on typing in Evernote now. If there were a 25th hour in the day, I would spend it
Working out more or meditating. I think I need some of that release time. I'm not good about that balancing.
My biggest pet peeve is
People who are late.
if I weren't a marketer, I'd be a...
Can I give 2 answers to this
Of course you
one?
can.
I would love to be an interior designer.
Me too.
That is, I've always had this thing. I do my friends' houses. I would say that the other one is I struggled with confidence and some other elements growing up as a girl, and I think it's so important. We're in this amazing phase for women. I feel so much passion and spirit for the next generation of women evolving in the workforce, and if there's any element or part that could give back to having women be good to each other, like none of the bullying and name calling, I would love to engage with middle and high school age girls and really just spend time fostering that communication, those open lines.
So you've definitely hired many people throughout your career. What's the one question that you ask people when you're interviewing them?
What should we be doing different as a brand?
Wow, that's good. Do you find that people actually have prepared enough and are prepared to tell you an
That's why
answer
it's
to
a
that?
good question. I want to know how truly passionate and how much they've looked at the brand to understand it. You can ask every generic question in the interview book, but I think if you put them on the spot and say, if you worked here, like what should we be doing different as a brand? And I think, what could we be doing better? And I think it's interesting to see the responses. You can definitely tell from that response how interested they are in the position. And I think the other one is outside of work, like what inspires you? What are you passionate about outside of work? Yeah. I think it's important to see kind of, especially with the upcoming generations, they have such a breadth of talent, and they really, really embrace that balance of work-life better than I think the baby boomers did and some other things. So I think it's important to understand where their passions lie and how that could actually translate into the role that they're applying for too, because is there a special project that you could find for this person? Is there another facet of their personality that would really work well with the company?
What advice would you give your 20-year-old self?
Looking back, I definitely would have told myself to take all my vacation time and to travel more. I think one of the biggest, I don't have any regrets when it comes to my career and the choices that I've made. I think it's important to note that I don't have regrets, but I do wish I had not focused so hard on work that I forgot to have that balance of time, in the sense that I wish I had taken more vacations and traveled internationally so much more, because that exposure, regardless of, how relaxing of a vacation is, you still take away experiences that can actually enable and fuel your professional career too. And I think that's important to have that balance.
Yeah. And what advice would you give to a woman who's coming up in her career, looking for the next step?
Don't be afraid to take risks, because without, great risk comes no great accomplishment. And I would say that the biggest learnings that have really changed the trajectory of my career have come from failures, because you take far more away from any failure in terms of your growth than you actually do from accomplishments. And it'll stick with you, and it'll drive you and empower you in new ways, and it'll give you foresight and vision. I think that's really critical. Don't be afraid to take chances. You got to go for it. Just do it.
We were about to say the same thing.
Yeah.
Ashley, thank you so much for joining us today. I hope you had fun talking about your career and marketing and what women can do to get ahead and all of that.
Thank you so much for having me. I really enjoyed it.
Salima, thank you so much for joining us for Real Talk with Rachel.
Thank you for having me.
This is our kickoff to a celebration of women in business, in marketing, technology, e-commerce, what have you. So
Great.
We're very excited to have you. Tell me, where did you grow up?
I grew up in New Jersey.
Where about? I'm in Montclair now.
Oh, okay. I grew up in a little town called Metuchen, New Jersey.
Oh, I know Metuchen.
Yeah, okay.
I have cousins
Everybody
who
knows
live there.
Metuchen. I'm like, when I grew up there, it was 2 square miles. Nobody really
So
knew
funny.
where it was.
We have
Middlesex.
cousins who are there.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's a great town.
Yeah.
It's a great town.
So tell me, how did you get started in marketing?
I actually started first at Hanover Direct, which is a catalog company. And so that easily translated to online, because when I started there, many years ago. It was catalog, and then they started doing e-commerce fulfillment for KB Toys.
Okay.
Which is now defunct.
Yeah.
Which is funny.
I remember them though.
Yeah.
And tell me exactly, what do you do at Estee Lauder?
So I oversee our portfolio of brands in a corporate function that oversees online marketing, merchandising, and analytics. And a lot of what we do is creating best practices, benchmarking, and capability development, really focused on those 3 key areas.
That's great. Where did you start your career in marketing?
In Hanover Direct. Yeah. So it was really direct marketing catalog, the RFM of real direct marketing.
Did you study marketing in college?
I did.
You did?
Yes.
That's
Marketing
great.
and international business.
Oh, look at that. All right. I was a European history major. Okay. No idea how I ended up in marketing. What are some of the important questions that you ask people that you want to hire?
So it's funny. I don't have a real guided list of, I would say, interview questions, and my team always makes fun of me because they say, we know how long it takes with the employee, whether they're in, or the candidate, whether they're in or out. So I usually, if it's less than 15 minutes, they're like, oh no.
Yeah.
And I usually take a group approach of interviewing somebody. And so I'm very non-conventional in what I will ask, and I don't even know when I go in. I kind of use the person's kind of connection with them and really let it guide me. A lot of the times I don't really ask any of the business questions or the technical questions. I really want to know about them, their style, how they like to work, whether they're hands-on, whether they're hands-off, why they're looking to leave whatever position they're in, or if they're, really junior at entry level, what they're looking for and what they want, in a new job. So for me, that those interviews have taken either 10 or 15 minutes, or they've taken like an hour.
Right.
And they're much more about the personality. I think a lot of the marketing skills you can teach if you have the right candidate with the right mindset.
Is there any advice that you would give a woman who's interviewing for a job with you?
That's an interesting one. I would say be genuine. I think when you try to fake it, or if you try to be something you're not, if you're genuinely passionate about something or you genuinely love it, it'll come through. And if you try to fake it, it'll also come through. So I think that's the most important trait.
Have you had a role model or a mentor in your career, female or male?
I've had many. I've been very, very lucky. Probably started with my parents growing up, and they've been amazing role models. But very early on in my career, and I can remember very clearly each person who would guide me to the next position, and the role model who brought me to Estee Lauder is still with Estee Lauder, and so she's made a great influence in my life and my career, and there have been many others within Estee Lauder, and my current boss who brought me back to Estee Lauder after I left for 3 years. So.
What did you want to be when you grew up?
Growing up, my parents had their jobs. My mom was a medical technician. My dad was a mechanical engineer, and yet they always had these side jobs. So it was always a sense of entrepreneurship, kind of just that always was in me. but I don't know that it really influenced what I wanted to do. And I kind of happened into this job. I kind of happened into e-commerce and online marketing and digital space.
How does Estee Lauder embrace their consumer?
In many different ways. And I think there's many different answers depending on who you talk to, how you look at a consumer. The consumer is at the center of everything we do, starting with Estee Lauder and how she founded the company and how revolutionary it was or innovative it was at that time, and how she came behind the counter and touched a consumer, to really making it about word of mouth, which has been so important, and really about the user-generated content that now in today's world is about the social media and how consumers interact. So when we talk about embracing consumer, it's really the one word we use is high touch.
If you could have one superpower, what would it be?
Oh my God. Which ones are superpowers? Can we stop time?
Ooh, maybe if you're sure. If you're a superhero, you can do anything.
I feel like time goes by so fast. If I could stop time, even to whether it's relish in the moment, whether it's to take a moment to understand what just happened,
Yes.
that to me would be.
That's a good one. I like that. What advice would you give your 20-year-old self?
Oh, that's a good one. So I have to set up what my 20s were like. So my 20s were, leaving a stable company and going into the craziness of .com world, and the looking at the grass is always greener, thinking the opportunity around the corner was almost always better. And I think if I was to look back, I would have said to myself, stop a little bit and enjoy where you are right now and take it in, listen, learn, and absorb, because everything has a reason and a purpose, and that you could take it forward in a very different way.
Great. What does authentic marketing mean to you?
Well, okay, so I would spin that a little bit. I
Great.
think that I don't know that marketing is authentic, or at least anymore. I think branding is authentic, and I think what we do with marketing is very, very determined or prescriptive. And what we do with marketing is about how do we apply the branding, whether it's the messaging, who it is to, how we deliver it, and getting that all right at the right moment when the consumer wants it. That's the art.
Okay, I'm going to ask you a series of rapid-fire questions, and you
Okay.
just need to fill in the blank.
Perfect.
All right, ready? I
Yes.
can't get through the workday without.
Coffee.
If there were a 25th hour in the day, I would spend it.
Oh, that's easy. Watching TV. Bad TV.
Yeah. My biggest pet peeve is.
Do I have one? Pet peeve. Oh, can we skip this one?
Yep.
Oh, I don't even know what my pet peeve. I probably have a lot.
If I weren't a marketer, I would be a.
Oh, that's easy. A lawyer. I fight with my husband all the time. He's a lawyer. I always told him I could do his job better.
Awesome. Salima, thank you so much for joining me in this first in a series of interviews with women in business, technology, e-commerce, and marketing.
Thank you for having me.